Hey guys, we're talking about generations, and the question that we asked was, how do we bring generations together? Have you ever had a difficult time relating to someone that's of a different generation? Maybe they're older or maybe they're younger. I'm here with Dave Taylor. He's our high school youth pastor.
Yes.
And we're here to talk about different, maybe specific walls that we see that need to be broken down so that generations within the church can better relate to each other. We've been talking about this, and so here's a question, Dave. What is one of those walls that you see that has happened within the church that maybe is causing a barrier between maybe an older and a younger generation?
Right. I think, unfortunately, with this one, there's seems to be a lot of different barriers, but I would say one of the ones that I've seen. So, as you said, I'm the youth pastor, and so I see it a lot with students. But as I talk to parents as well, and sometimes even grandparents, there seems to be a consistent theme of at times, a lack of understanding, and that usually comes from a lack of just sitting and listening. I remember, and that sounds simple, but I remember we were talking about this the other day, and I feel like when you spend time, regardless if it's, if you don't even know what's being talked about, you just spend time with the individual, and the idea, or there's no set agenda, I guess you could say, and you were just literally there to listen, to hear them out. Usually what happens is you start understanding them a little bit better, and I've talked with people and they're like, that sounds a little simple, and it's like, well, when we simply sit and we desire to listen to them so we can gain understanding, like it does happen, like it truly does.
So what I hear is you're saying that just the simple idea of listening, being attentive to the next generation or the other generation that's not yours,
Right.
is a powerful way to break down one of those walls.
Right, and I think what's interesting too is, like, we're taught, and we teach our students this. I have kids. I teach my kids this. You hear this taught a lot, where it's like, we should be students of the word, right? Or we should be students of our children, or whatever that may be. And that can never stop. So I'm the youth pastor, and I'm teaching, I'm discipling. I'm also learning a ton from these kids. They teach me things as well. And so I don't ever want to get to the spot, or I get to an age where I feel like I am now solely in the place where I am just pouring out information, or pouring into, although, we do that as well. But God works in an awesome way where there will be people a lot younger than us that are still teaching us, and in that way pouring into us as well. And so I feel like when you have this, at times you have this barrier where kids that might be a little bit younger say, hey, maybe that's the way you used to do it. It doesn't work that way anymore. And so I'm not going to listen. And then you might have somebody that's older that's like, hey, this is the way that it worked for us, therefore just listen to me. Sometimes there's this clashing that happens, and if we just sit and listen and just seek to understand where we're coming from, I think.
One of the things that you and I talked about too was that there's this idea that we see that seems to be prevalent in culture, and we even see it in the church, is that there's this older generation that feels like, those young kids, right? And then there's these young kids who feel like dismissive towards an older culture. Like, they don't understand me. They're not going to listen. And I think in both of those cases, as we talk about generations in a church that's called to love each other, then it looks really bad, right? And also too, the further you get away from each other, the younger and the older, and they grow further apart, and they become almost, in a way, just like kind of throwing up their hands, like, this is not what we're not going to connect. We're not going to ever do this. But I think the powerful tool that you just mentioned is time and listening. That I actually, if I do take the time to listen to someone and to speak into someone's life, that could change the dynamic that we're seeing happening in a church that maybe grows apart.